All right, what's good, y'all? So we just talked about Coach Prominent five-star prospect. Now it is time to talk about Colorado football schedule via Fox College Football. Hey man, I'm not gonna lie. It is a very favorable schedule in my humble opinion. I think Coach Prime could be in position to get into the Big 12 championship. I really do. Last year had a shot as well. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, took that loss to Kansas. It really hurt them last year, man. Didn't allow them to get in. But I do think that these Buffs, with this schedule, they can make some run for the money. Now, we talked obviously about the quarterback battle. Obviously, that'll be between Caden Salter and obviously Juju Lewis. We'll see who comes out on top. But when you look at their schedule, they can figure out that quarterback spot. You know what I'm saying? And they can continue to surround. They got some really good wide receiver talent when you look at Colorado and what they're going to bring back. They got some pieces in there in order to make some noise. Let's take a look. All right, now let's look at, obviously, Georgia Tech. Now, obviously, I know I covered them. I know Georgia Tech well. I think early on, that's going to probably be one of their toughest games, right? It is at home, but I think Tech, they like to run the football, right? They're a physical team. Remember, they was like one of the top teams in pass protection last year, only giving up, I think, 3 sacks all year. They was like top 3 in that category. So this is a team that protects their quarterback. They run the football with Jamal Haynes, and obviously we'll see what role that Malachi Holsley will have this year. And then they got really good receiver talent as well. Yes, Eric Singleton Jr. left, but they still got Malik Rutherford, Eric Rivers. They got Dean Patterson. They got guys that can play at a high-end level. So when you look at that, that's going to be interesting to see how they can match up with some of that talent that they have in the offensive line that wants to push you around, right? So I say out the gates, that's probably the toughest one. All right, next up, they got Delaware, right? Very winnable game. You start off with a 2-game homestand. Should win that one pretty easy, right? Then you got Houston. You know what I'm saying? Houston at Houston. Again, a team that's rising, obviously, when it comes to college football, but I think Colorado should be able to handle business. Shouldn't have no issues there, right? Then they play Wyoming. You know what I'm saying? You back at Boulder. You know what I'm saying? You playing a team that you're more talented than. You should be able to come out on top. You should be able to have a big game in that one. I got the Buffs winning that one as well. All right, now here's where it gets a little bit challenging, right? You play BYU. BYU, surprisingly, obviously, I thought they had a really good season. 10-win season. I think they're going to be back. They bring back a lot of their team from last year, the quarterback, several really key position players, always very well coached. That's probably going to be one of their toughest games along with the Georgia Tech. But when you look at a top 5, they should easily, to me, be 4-1. At that point, maybe even 3-2. As I say the floor is 3-2. The ceiling, they should be 5-0. But I would say they're going to get a loss out of that top 5 right there. You know what I'm saying? So let's say worst case scenario, 4-1 the Buffs will be. You still feel pretty good about your season. Then you play TCU. TCU going through a little bit of rebuild. Not the same team that they had when Colorado beat them a few years ago when Travis came onto the scene. You should be able to handle business. That is a road game at TCU again. But I feel confident that the Buffaloes can come out on top and beat, obviously, TCU and the Horned Frogs. So I go with them in that one. Now, Iowa State's an interesting team. They made it, obviously, all the way to the Big 12 championship last year. They're going to lose some pieces from this past year, but return some key pieces as well. You're at home. I feel like they should be able to handle business against Iowa State. That'll be enough in-conference opponent, but Buffs should be able to handle their business. Then we look at Utah. Good thing, though, is you get a bye week, right, in between that October 18th. So you get the rest up, right? Then you go to Utah. That's a hostile environment. They love their college football up there. Will that be an easy game? No, it will not. That would be a very tough game. But what I can say is Utah, got to see what happens at quarterback. Cam Rising, what kind of happens with him? You know what I'm saying? Will he return another year? It's been rumor spectacles that maybe he will. What would he do at quarterback, right? How would he fill some of the other key positions next year? So the environment is tough, but still a lot of question marks around the Utah team. You know, maybe we'll know more at that point, obviously, with several games being played. But that probably could be a tough environment. That would probably be like a trap game, I would say. Let's say Colorado at that point is, going through, they're like 6-1. That Utah game could be a trap game. All right, next up, you got Arizona at home. You should be able to handle business. To me, Arizona's still figuring it out, you know what I'm saying, with their program and their team. You know what I'm saying, kind of in that rebuild mode, retool. Feel like Colorado should win that one. At West Virginia, just that environment, Morgantown, they're thirsting for, just being, getting back into that relevant kind of fold again. You know what I'm saying? Again, one of those games that if you sleep on them, they could beat you. Like, don't go in there like, oh, man, we got this in the bag. West Virginia could be a tough opponent as far as that environment, that atmosphere, especially if you coming in, you Colorado, hey, we 8-1, we 9-1. We're going to make this Big 12 championship playoff right in front of us. Another game that I would say is a trap game. All right, next up, you got the nitty gritty. So I think for me, Colorado, your last two games are your toughest, right? So that's why I said it's going to be important early on in the season. You handle business. You got to beat the BYU's. You got to beat the Iowa States. You got to beat the Utahs because the end of your schedule is so tough, in my opinion. I think Colorado lose one of these two games. If you go against, obviously, Arizona State, no Cam Scatterbo this year, but they're going to return their quarterback, Sam Leavitt, who a lot of people are very high on. They think that this is his team now. He got the keys to the ignition and that he could take them to new heights. Now, obviously, they did really good this year, right? They made it deep in the playoffs. They gave Texas a real challenge in the quarterfinals this past year, man. Had them on the ropes, you know what I'm saying, in Atlanta and nearly beat them. So I want to see him take that step forward. I feel like last year he did the things that he needed to do, but now I want to see him go even further this year. You're not going to have Cam Scatterbo, so you're not going to have those lighter boxes or less coverage down the field, right? They might be scheming up now where they're running more zone. How do you adjust to that? You know what I'm saying? So I think that one at home is going to be very interesting to see. Arizona's a really well-coached team. They're coached, obviously, Kenny Dillingham just got an extension. That's going to be a tough game as well. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's at home, that could very well decide if you get into a Big 12 championship. You know what I'm saying? And if you're able to compete in playing that. Then you got to go on the road to Kansas State. Now, Kansas State did not have the year that they were supposed to have. Avery Johnson comes back another year. They're going to lose DJ Gittins, who obviously is moving on. I believe he hit the portal. But Kansas State is always a tough team, man. And when we look at everything, they don't got no bye. Like, going in that atmosphere at Kansas State, another really crazed fan base that loves their college football, loves to see and root their team on, that's going to be tough. But if I had to say, I have full confidence in this Colorado team this year. I think ceiling, they go 11-1 this year as their ceiling. I think as a floor, they go 9-3 in the regular season. You know what I'm saying? Similar to what they did last year, right? And I think in between maybe 10-2. And I think that could get you in. You know what I'm saying? If you can go 10-2, win obviously the Big 12 championship, you feel pretty good. But this is definitely a more favorable schedule than they had the past few years when they had to go against the Oregons of the world, the USCs and everything like that. So for me, I'm going to say Colorado. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say they win 11 games this year. I think they're going to be able to pretty much ride out through here. I think they're gonna trip up. They're gonna fall on one of these games. So. What I think is gonna happen, I think they're gonna fall on one of these early games, and then I think they're gonna win out. That's my pick for Colorado. I think they're gonna trip up on one of the early season games. Everybody's gonna overreact. Oh my gosh, can Deion win? Without Shedeur and Travis, and everybody's gonna freak out. And I think from that point forward, Colorado's gonna win out. And I know you're gonna call me crazy. Like, what is he talking about? But I think Colorado's gonna win out, and they're gonna show everybody, hey, it wasn't just those players. Like, those players are obviously great. Coach Prime coached them, developed them. But Coach Prime is a special coach in college football. And I think that's what everyone's going to be seeing at the end of the day after the season is over. So we'll see. Obviously, they're very overly critical of him. But I think Coach Prime will show everybody what he's made of, man, how elite of a coach he really is in college football in a short span of time. So we'll see. Y'all comment below on one of your thoughts. How far can Colorado go? How many wins do you have based off of this schedule? Again, I think it's very favorable. I think it's tougher down the stretch against Arizona State and at Kansas, but I think they should be able to win enough games in order to get into the college football playoffs. So I'm gonna say 11 wins is what my prediction is. I say 10 wins as a floor.